Now it's time for Martin County Business Exchange with your hosts, John Hutrides from Stewart Moving Services and Gail Goldie from Eye Care Magazine. And John and Gail, welcome. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Another week. Here we go, Wednesday. The weeks go by really fast.
Yeah. Where'd it go?
I don't know. And I came in cranky. I apologize ahead of time because I have a headache.
You warned us.
I did warn you because I had a monster headache all day and lots of traffic issues just driving the 3 miles from here. It's just, yeah.
Walk faster.
I hope so. The traffic will die. It was a 2-lane road, and coming back Dixie Highway, people are driving like it's like the lanes are a suggestion, not really a law. Just waving around. I don't know.
The speed limit too.
That doesn't bother me so much. Just stay in your lane.
Right.
You know, if it's a 2-lane road, stay in your lane, please.
Yeah,
Thank you. I'm not that stickler for detail, but anyway, enough of that. Enough of my crankiness. Gail, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing well, John. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you at MCBE for a while.
Well, we've been locked down for a while, of course, and then now it's just tough to get out in the meetings sometimes in the mornings because of my job and stuff. Are they still doing masks at the Elks? Requiring? Are we
I guess
masking up?
To go in, you wear your mask, and then when we sit down, you can take your mask off. And it's very interesting because what they've done is they've given us rectangular tables and 2 people at a table.
Oh, okay.
So, and I think today we had like 22 people. And of course, you can view it on the video. They have that hooked up, on the internet.
Well, if I had time to watch the video, I'd have time to go to the meetings. So. Probably missed that one.
Well, some people, they don't, you
That's
get
true.
a little bit more time to spend at home, and you don't have to be dressed.
I guess.
You can just sit and sip your coffee.
Pajamas.
And,
Can you call in?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll try to get there next week.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah.
So this is our McBiz radio program. Once a week, we do every Wednesday, and it's kind of like an hour commercial for people in the club. And Gail, this is your hour.
Yeah, this is my hour.
Yeah. So tell us what's up.
Well, many people know I'm with Eye Care Community Magazine, and we've been on the Treasure Coast serving from St. Lucie County down through South Stewart out to Okeechobee, and we have a Tradition edition and we have a Palm City edition.
Okay.
And was started about seven years ago. And it's about local businesses and local professionals. And it gives everybody an opportunity to tell their story about their business. So
that's what we like here on the show. Frank and I mentioned it before. Hey, Frank, shout out wherever you are, hunker down. Basically, a lot of people that have come on the show prior to the show have said, I'm kind of nervous about doing it. I was like, relax. We're just talking. There's you, me, Frank. We're just talking. And people like stories, so that tied in really well with what you were saying. I was like, so is it mostly geared? It's mostly geared toward the healthcare industry, yes? Well,
actually, no, but the stories inside the magazine, we're filled with information. So we have information on all different topics. It could be, we have a real estate section, we have a health and nutrition, we have a kids section, all different type of real estate, financial. We have all different types of information in there. However, one of our avenues of distribution for many years up until COVID was that the magazine was always in the doctor's offices.
Okay.
That's where we distributed it.
I gotcha.
Because it was a great audience for us to have the magazine there, people sitting there and, pick up the magazine and read the stories, inside the information. And we always featured on the front cover a local business professional.
Okay.
And then there was a 2-page story inside where he got to tell or she got to tell about the business, how it started, what their goal was. And, so it was very, very good reading, and then COVID came along and what we did was we had to shut down our printing part of the magazine.
Oh, wow.
And we went to digital. So we still continued to do the magazine, but the magazine was strictly digital.
Okay, I did not know that either. Wow.
Yeah. And I will say for the owner, the magazine is owned by a gentleman named Angel Chavez. And Angel, when he switched it over to digital, well, when we were printing, we also did digital. So the magazine was always available online. But when we went to just online, digital, he maintained the magazine and allowed everybody that was in the magazine to stay in there and advertise at no charge.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was very generous.
Right. Yeah.
And we opened it up to a lot of businesses and said that, if they wanted to get their message out, that they were still open or whatever their situation was, we would put it in the magazine. And as of yesterday, we are now back to print.
Oh, okay.
So we're doing print and digital. So our first print back is our September issue, and it will be out September 1st.
Okay.
So,
and that's still going to go back out to the doctor's offices and every other place, or?
Well, that's a good question, because we are going to be distributing the magazine, and the magazine was always distributed basically a lot to the medical community, but also we were in CVS, Walgreens,
Okay.
A lot of retail businesses. We had racks, in a lot of places. So as far as going in the doctor's offices, we will approach the doctor's office, but many of the doctor's offices, they're scheduling their patients so that you don't run into anybody. You walk into a doctor's office now, there's nobody in there.
Really?
Yeah.
I went to a dentist a couple of last 2 weeks ago. It was packed.
Really?
Just like wall to wall. I mean, we're all masked up.
Yeah.
But just packed.
Oh. Well, most of the doctor's offices are only scheduling their appointments, and they leave about 15 to 20 minutes between appointments now so that they can clean and sanitize after people leave.
So there's no waiting 45 minutes after your appointed time, which is pretty typical.
Yeah.
That's been my experience.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Every 10 o'clock and 10:45, the doctor will see you now.
Mm-hmm. So many of them are not carrying magazines or newspapers or anything in their office, but that may change.
Okay.
So, and some are, because I will say one thing about the medical profession. The majority of the medical profession, this really wasn't anything new that they had to do when COVID hit. They maintained their office in a very safe environment. They cleaned their office. They
Right.
cleaned their equipment, so that was just, something that
Standard.
yeah. So now they just have to reassure people and just put a sign up and say, that this is, what we're doing. Ooh. So I think a lot of the practices, as I said, they're opening, and many of them were open during all of this.
Yeah, a lot of them were. Well, doctors, I mean, that's fairly essential, because just because there's a COVID thing going on doesn't mean that Mrs. Smith doesn't need her gallbladder, tended to, or somebody needs to throw their back out, which has happened to me more than once.
Yeah, but interestingly, a lot of that was considered non-essential surgeries and were put on the back burner. It was mostly just for emergency. And the reason that they did that was because they wanted to make sure that the hospitals weren't overwhelmed,
Right.
That if someone had to go into ICU or something, that the bed was available for someone with COVID or whatever, as opposed to someone that had, a heart issue.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
So you have a heart issue.
yeah,
That's
I mean,
okay.
your
You
heart
can put it
beats,
off.
your heart beats, 24 hours a day. You're fine.
You can put it off for a couple of weeks till we get this under control. But
Just take a baby aspirin, you'll be fine. No, this whole thing has just gotten everybody just all everything. This has affected every part of every person's life in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, now we're facing the education system with the children going back to school, and the parents having to make a decision whether or not to homeschool or to do online learning.
Yeah.
And how's that going to go?
I can't imagine. I'm so glad that my kids are not school age, because we would somehow cope, but I'm glad I don't have to.
Yeah. It's very difficult. It's difficult for the teachers and the parents and the children.
Yeah. I have a friend who's a kindergarten teacher out in New Mexico, and she's like, she just doesn't know what to do. Like, they're changing things. I won't say daily. It's probably twice or three times a day as far as what the protocols are.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you teach a kindergartner kid you can't, unless the kid's playing a video game, they're not going to sit in front of a screen
Right.
to do anything.
Yeah, I saw a cute video on someone that was a kindergarten teacher, and she had a mask on, and she was sitting there, and she said, "This is what we're going to be dealing with." And she took the mask, and she's chewing on it, and she's spinning it around, and she,
Yeah.
don't they realize what's going to happen
Yeah.
to a kindergarten? How do you control that?
Yeah.
How do you get them to wear a mask for 6 or 7 hours? And it was funny. And she's saying, she was drawing on it, and I mean, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you don't even, I didn't even think of that stuff,
Right.
saying, oh, the kids wear a mask. Well, they're just going to wear a mask. No, they're not.
Well, you know what? I just came up with a great $1 million idea. You have the mask scented, like bubblegum scented, so that when the kids breathe, they breathe in bubblegum scents and they'll wear it all day long. Right?
Okay.
There
you go.
Someone's going to steal that idea, make $1 million, and I'll get.
And you can do that at the bars and make it smell like a whiskey or a gin or a
Right.
vodka or something,
Okay.
and you don't have to drink.
We
You
may be
can
on
just,
something here.
you can just sniff your mask.
Like a nice 12-year-old Scotch, please. So who are your so you have, when you print,
Mm-hmm.
what is your circulation or distribution, I guess?
Well, when we were printing 10,000 copies, and we were distributing about 3,000 to the community and mailing the rest. So we're getting back to a print, but we're not starting back at the amount that we were because of the distribution. So we're kind of easing back into it, but we will be distributing and doing some mailing. So
10,000, that you'll probably get back up to there pretty pretty soon.
Yeah.
That's a good number.
Yeah. And as I said, it's nice. The magazine is very community friendly. We post in there columns from some of the county officials. We usually have a column in there by the sheriff, supervisor of election, property appraiser, and it's an opportunity for them. We have the tax collector. It's an opportunity for them to get a message out to the community about what's going on. Now we just had this month, for September, we will have an article in there from Ruth Petrioski, whatever. I can never say her name, so I just call her Ruth Ski. And she sent an article in about toll violations and paying toll violations.
Okay.
And I believe now you can just go in there or pay your toll violations right at the motor vehicle department. So that's a nice article in there. And then the property appraiser's office, they'll give you information about filing for your homestead rebates and such. So
have you talked to the election supervisor about what's upcoming?
Well, Vicki is very, very busy, and of course we just finished with our primary election on August the 18th. And I know prior to that, she was very busy cleaning the voter rolls, which is something that Martin County had committed to, and Vicki worked diligently on doing that. So, but my intention is, she usually does send in an article, but this particular for August, September, she was a little overwhelmed with a lot of other things on her plate.
I imagine she'll be overwhelmed between now and November also.
Yeah. The big thing with voting right now is the absentee versus the mail-in, and they're interchangeable to a certain extent, but I think a lot of people don't realize in Florida what absentee and mail-in, there's a difference, and, to me, I'm not against the mail-in as far as mailing in your absentee ballot. I just don't think that we should arbitrarily just mail out ballots to every resident's address,
right?
Which is what they do want to do in several states. And Florida, if you want to vote by mail, request an absentee ballot. That way it's checked. If you're registered, they'll send out the ballot.
I wonder, just off the cuff here, I wonder whether it's the blue states or the red states that are maybe are big proponents of just mailing out a bunch of ballots. Throw it out to the viewers. Maybe you guys have a viewpoint on that. I don't know. I think
the color of your shirt would answer that.
I have both colors, Gal.
Well, the predominant color on that shirt, John.
Fair enough.
So, But I did want to talk a little bit about advertising and why it's important. And, if you have a business, I hope that everybody that does have a business, puts a little budget away for advertising. Advertising is very, very important. And, a lot of times when I'm talking to people and they'll say to me, well, I don't have to advertise because I get all my clients and customers from word of mouth. Well, word of mouth is great, but if you could take that word of mouth, that testimonial that is coming from someone, and put it in writing and let someone read it, that is 10,000 times better. Right. Because there's 10,000 publications. If we get 5,000 that read it, that's 5,000 people that read the testimonial, where instead of just one person telling one person. So that's, and when you're advertising, I think a lot of people expect to get an immediate return on their advertising, and that doesn't happen. Most people that see an ad will remember possibly the name if you have something creative in your ad, something that someone will remember. And they're not necessarily ready for your product or your service that day when they see that ad. So it could pay off, 6 months down the road, 2 months, a week, a day, you don't know. So it is important to get your name out there. I think also, many of the businesses have testimonials from their clients and their customers. Excuse me. And I tell everyone, if you have testimonials from your clients and your customers, and if it's on your website or wherever it is, print them out and hang them up in your office. You don't have to hang them up for the customers to see. Hang them up for yourself to see, because that is what you have to live up to. And when you have something in front of you and you're reading about how great you are and how great your service is and how wonderful the people were that they came in contact with, that gives you your reputation to live up to.
You know what? That's really, that's a very good way to look at it. I never thought of that before.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. I mean, you want your customers to see it, certainly, but it's a good basis for your business, and it keeps your business on track.
Because we do tend to get kind of lost or caught up in our own little daily of whatever mini fire you have to put on a day, and you sort of get sidetracked on 1,000 different things during the day.
Yeah.
And to see something like that, it's like, oh, okay, well maybe we're not, maybe
it's not as bad as I thought it was.
It's just one of those challenging days.
Yeah.
Never claim a bad. I went to a seminar one time and they said never claim a bad day. Mm-hmm. If you're going to claim a bad day, just say I'm having a character building day. Mm-hmm. It's much better than saying I'm having a bad day.
That's true. Yeah.
There you go. So, all right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay. So, and advertising, there's a lot of things that advertising will do for you, because advertising will build preference, and that people believe in a familiarity with a product or something, so when you are, if you're supporting something that let me see if you can. Okay, John, you have the moving company. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you are affiliated with
Allied Van Lines.
With Allied Van Lines. Okay. Allied Van Lines is a company that is world renowned. Their name is, synonymous with moving.
Yes.
So when you let people know that you're affiliated with Allied, and Allied has done advertising.
Yes.
So that brings you in that familiarity where people feel a sense of comfort, and, they know that it's, it's
every time reputable. They see those big orange trucks on the road, and there's lots of them out there, though. That's absolutely true.
So, and that's a lot of the important parts, I mean, we have air conditioning people that will mention names like Lennox and, several of the others, Goodman, and, a lot of that. And that's things that people can relate to. And you happen to be attached to that.
True.
And that's very, very good. So you need to let people know what you're attached to, So.
And the local longevity helps too. If you've been in town for a while.
Yeah.
As we have.
Yeah. So, all of that is very important in advertising. And, I always tell people, especially new businesses, when they open, I'll go in to see them. They'll call me and they'll say, well, I don't have any money. I just don't have any money. Well, I know what happens when people open a new business. When you open your new business, you went, you did your business plan, you have your money, you went and you got your budget, you got your money from the bank, and here's your pile of money. And then you have to do all of the other things. You have to do a build out. Money's picked out of that pile. And then you have to get all your electronic equipment, and the money's picked out of that pile. And the last thing on that timeline is what? Advertising. And when you get to the end of that line and you look at that pile of money, there's no money.
Right.
There's nothing to advertise. So when you build it, it doesn't mean they're going to come. You have to let people know you're there. And you can do that. There's a lot of ways to advertise, and it's not just through being in a magazine or a newspaper. It's being visible in the community. And it's like joining organizations like MCBE.
Right.
And it's also with your charities that you might support. Maybe you have children that are in sports, and you're there and you have your T-shirt
Sponsor
on.
a team. Yeah.
Or you have your T-shirt on with the name of your business and things. So there's a lot of ways to advertise. And that's important because you cannot let up on that stuff. You have to do. I'm not saying that you have to be pouring a ton of money into it, but you should be focused on it because it is important. And that brings me to the other part is today we're in an electronic age where everybody's on their laptop, their phones, they're getting text messages. And many people just want to shut that stuff out, So how do you get through? You develop a Facebook page, you have a Facebook page. The future of Facebook, I don't know what it's going to be because for advertising and such, it's becoming what junk mail in the mailbox used to be.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah. So, direct mail, direct mail has a purpose. Our magazine was a direct mail piece because it was mailed out to the residents. The difference with a direct mail piece is that when you get something in your mailbox, the majority of the time, you will take that from your mailbox and into your home. Many times on the way to your living room or your dining room or wherever you're going to put your mail, you'll put stuff in the trash.
Yep. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Put on, like my kids bring it in, they put it on the counter, the kitchen counter, and the garbage is right there. And it's like, I don't even open half the stuff up. Trash. Well, this I need. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you have a nice looking magazine,
you'll read it.
You'll read it.
Absolutely.
You'll put it aside. Yeah. You'll pick it up before you put it in the trash and you'll say, oh, this will be something I can read later when I have a cup of coffee or I'm sitting down after dinner or whatever. And those are the things that are important because you have stimulated that person to want to look at it.
Right.
And because our magazine generally has someone that's recognizable in the community, it's like you'll pick it up and you'll say, oh, there's John. I know John.
Right.
Let me read about him, And I have had so many people that have been on the magazine on the front cover or the back cover or even inside. And they'll say to me, I got so many compliments and questions about, gee, I didn't know you were from Ohio originally. And I didn't know you had 3 children. And I didn't know you were, because when we do the interview, we ask personal questions about, how did you get here? What prompted you to start your business? What do you think about business? So it is a very good read,
It goes back to the story aspect. That people just like stories.
Yep. Anytime that you can leave some form of educational information with a reader, you've hooked them.
Yeah.
Because you're giving them something. And that's something that they're not going to forget. They're going to say, I didn't know that when you are looking to get a mover, that you should do this,
right?
Or whatever. And when they need a mover, they're going to remember where they saw that. And they're going to maybe go back and pick up a magazine and say, oh, are they still in, see if I can find their ad. That's why it's good to be consistent and to continue to add and use the same avenue time and time again. Many years ago, this was before I was even into the advertising. My husband and I lived in New Jersey, and we used to get a little magazine called the Penny Saver.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And I got this Penny Saver, and I would look at it every time it came out. And I remember going through it and paging through it. And there was a cartoon in there for a woman who did window treatments. And the cartoon it was just a sketch, and it was a woman who was nude, and she was walking by a window with no curtain on it. And her husband is sitting in the chair, and he's got the paper, and he's looking over the paper, and he says, "Okay, Ann, you can call Louise now." Well, it was Louise's window treatments.
You still remember it?
And I still remember it. And when I needed window treatments, I called her because I thought that was hysterical. She had to get her husband's attention. She wanted the curtains. And what was she going to do? She had to walk in front of the window nude,
And it stuck with you how many years later?
Yeah. So, you have a message, you want to get it out there. And that was her message. So
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I remember the penny. We had the penny saver here too, didn't we?
Yes.
For a while? Yeah.
Yep. That was with the Palm Beach Post, the penny saver. Yeah. I worked for them for a while.
But we had up in Jersey too, because I'm from Jersey. I grew up in Jersey. Well, yeah, most of the time. I'm born in New York, but I grew up in Jersey and came down here. Whereabouts in Jersey?
I was in South Jersey.
What part?
By Cherry Hill.
Okay, you're south. Okay.
Yeah.
I was up in Middletown, Monmouth County.
Oh yeah. Sure. I used to go to the Middletown Mall.
Right?
Yeah.
That's an old, yeah. Eatontown
Mall.
Eatontown Mall.
Sorry. Eatontown Mall in Middletown.
Yep.
No,
it was in Eatontown.
In Eatontown,
Yeah.
And wasn't there a racetrack near there somewhere?
There's a Monmouth racetrack.
Yeah.
Yep. Monmouth College. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. We were not too far from Keensburg. Remember the amusement park?
Oh yeah.
It wasn't even on the. I mean, it's technically on the shore, but it wasn't on the ocean. It was on the. I don't know what that body of water was in between Jersey and New York, the bay. Anyway, it's right across from.
I'm trying to think.
This was up a little bit north of me, like 10 minutes north of Middletown.
Okay.
Still Monmouth County, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
By the shore,
Yeah.
near Sandy, not too far from Sandy Hook.
I was going to say Sandy Hook.
Yeah, Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
Was in the Highlands.
Yeah.
People have a bad idea of what most of New Jersey is like.
Mm-hmm.
And most of New Jersey is not like Bayonne and Newark and the airport and Elizabeth.
Right, yeah.
That's just like that little 15-mile radius. The rest is really pretty.
Off of the turnpike.
Yeah.
That was the standard thing when someone would say to you, "Where are you from in New Jersey?" Exit 4 of the turnpike.
Exactly.
Exit 110 on the Parkway.
Yep. Yeah, we were 114.
Yeah. So.
In fact, I had for a while there a buddy of mine, Ed Preman, who's a local musician around town. We had an acoustic duo that we used to do around town for a while, and Eddie's from Jersey too. So we called the little duo "What Exit." Mm-hmm. So we stole sort of the New Jersey Garden State Parkway emblem and put "What Exit" on it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
But,
I think I just saw something. There's a bar and restaurant down in Cape May, and I think they named it Exit Zero.
Okay.
Because it was beyond the last exit on the Parkway. Yeah, it looked like a little cool place.
There's a place down on the Keys, on the way down south, I think to the north end of the Keys. I think it's the Garden State something, and it has, again, he took the Parkway symbol and like Garden State Pizza or something, and so I stopped in there. I was actually disappointed in the pizza, so. But we're not in his radio market, so I can say that and not offend anybody. No. But it wasn't the best pizza I've had.
No, well, it's difficult when you come from New York and
to
find pizza that.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's gotten better. I've been down here since 78, and 78 was really hard to find good pizza. Now there's actually some decent pizza around town. Yeah. So it's not bad.
Yeah. Things have a way of, and I used to always say it was the water down here, that they couldn't make
that's part of it.
Crust with this.
That's part of it.
Same with the bagels and stuff,
You can get a decent bagel. You can't get a New York or Jersey bagel, but you can get a decent bagel. So anyway, we got off track as we usually do here in this radio show. What else do you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to mention about, we were talking a little bit about the pandemic and, what's going to happen in the future. I think everybody what's the future going to look like, and thinking about, for the advertising and everything. And I came across this little information piece about, what they thought about the pandemic. And it just was something that said, Apdentation will be the key to survival, and the companies who can strategically evolve their approach to behaviors now will be way ahead of the game when consumers find post-pandemic balance. So, I hope everyone is preparing for, what are they going to do when, you can open your doors and hopefully not have masks on and, not have to do this social distancing and such. Will that day come?
Let's hope so, because, well, a lot's going to depend on what kind of business you have too. Like our business, the moving and storage business hasn't really been as affected by this whole thing as, say, a bar or Coral Sky Amphitheater down south. I mean, people still move their houses. They still need stuff to come in and get moved and packed and all that other stuff. But the whole industry, the whole music industry, the whole entertainment industry has been decimated. I've got people, and people don't really realize, I mean, yes, most people are not super sympathetic to people that are millionaire rock stars or millionaire entertainers, because most people perceive, perhaps correctly, perhaps not, that they have all these money that they can sit on. But it's all the 99.2% of the rest of that business are just normal working folks, advertisers, salespeople that sell advertising at a concert, the roadies, the light and sound guys, the merch guys, the t-shirt guys, the concession guys. All those people are out of work. And it's I have friends in the business, and it's just, they went from making what they're making to zero. And nothing on I mean, technically they're talking about maybe opening stuff back up in 2021, maybe. A lot will depend on that, but who can take a hit on their income for a year and make nothing? I mean,
no one can.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't. That's just, so. And
I have friends who are seriously struggling. The little bit of music I do from time to time is just a hobby, really. It's not really anything. But I've had friends who make their living. I got a buddy of mine in Orlando. What he does is he's a singer and a guitar player. He plays in Disney. He plays at Epcot. He plays nothing. He's got a whole new thing going now. He ended up taking some classes for some insurance underwriting, whatever. Because he's got to make a living.
To find something else. Yeah.
But I think a lot of that adaptation is going to depend on what business you're in. Some businesses will not come back, I don't think.
I agree with you. And I think that, it's also, interesting because, traveling around, and a lot of the businesses that are out there that were considered essential are doing well. And a lot of the construction industry, meaning, kitchen remodels and fences and, I mean, they're swamped. You can't even get a call back.
Right.
There was a shortage of wood. We needed to have a fence installed, and we waited 3 months. And he called us and said, I'm sorry, but, we don't have any wood. I just don't have any wood. So as a result of that, he went down to Miami and bought a distributor down there, bought every piece of wood that the guy had for fencing. And he came, called us, and he said, I'm ready to put your fence in. He said, I'm going to tell you, he said, because of what happened, he said, you're getting upgraded to a cedar fence because that's all the wood I could get.
Wow.
And you're at the same price. He said, I have 6 jobs that are lined up. He said, yours is the first since I got the wood. And then I have 6 more after that. He said, I have to keep my guys busy. He said, I have to keep them employed, because when this is over, I still need my crews, so, and then, we wanted to have a shed put in, and that was another, the manufacturer had their sheds manufactured in North Carolina. And of course, someone in the factory of 140 people came down with COVID. Right. So they had to shut the plant down for 2 weeks, So, I mean, all these things you don't even expect, And of course, with people being home, what are they doing? They're sitting home saying, gee, you know what? Maybe it is time to get that bathroom remodel.
Right.
And,
they're staring at the 4 walls for, weeks and months at a time for some people. Yeah.
And let's get the painting. Let's get the house painted. Let's get the outside painted. Because they're the ones that are busy, and I'm thrilled with that. I mean, I'm glad that, and I hope that, after all of this and things hopefully get back to somewhat normal, that, that they can still sustain, because a lot of those people struggled before all of this.
True. True.
And a lot of it is finding employees. I mean, I talk to businesses, and that's their biggest thing right now.
Yeah.
And of course, many of them had the opportunity to come back to work, but they decided not to come back to work because it was a little better for them financially to stay home. So,
Yep. I had a musician friend of mine that's in Missouri. He worked sporadically throughout last year, and he was making more money on the unemployment and the bonuses, up through the July thing. He was making more money he's ever made in his life. But he applied for it. He got it. So it's out there. But and it's just a weird time for everybody.
Yes, it is.
And the whole non-essential essential thing sort of rankled me for a while, and it still does, because obviously Home Depot stayed open, and that's fine. That's great. But then some of these smaller hardware stores, they can't stay open, or some of these other smaller businesses that they can't. Like, who's to say? Like, I want to know who was making the decisions to say, okay, you're essential, you're non-essential. If you're doing protocols for safety, for masks or whatever protocols you think, then open everybody up.
Right. Yeah. I believe that if if the business, followed the protocols and the masks and the distancing and allowing so many people in at a time and managing that I think everything should have been able to be open. Right. After all, we're not all short of a couple of brain cells.
I don't know. The older I get, the more I'll argue with you.
Well, I think we can make a lot of us are capable of making our own decisions.
Yes.
And those decisions are made based on common sense and respect and all of the things that need to be considered.
You're more optimistic than I am. I've become a little more jaded as I get older. And you deal with the public too, so I don't know. Maybe. But I don't know. But the hard part is like the whole restaurant, bar, entertainment industry. You can't. Although I went to Daytona Beach, there's a place called the Daytona Beach Band Shell right on it's a bless you.
Bless you.
You okay there? And they shut down for a while because they used to have Friday and Saturday night big concerts, 4,000 people packed in, because it's on the beach. It's a great venue. It's fun. A lot of cool bands play there. They shut down, and then they reopened under new protocol, whereas now they have assigned seating, and it's in 2 and 3 and 4 sections. And rather than having 3,000 or 4,000 people on any given night, they're having 700. Okay. You're way less capacity, but it's something. You're outside. It's on the beach. You're entertaining. You're at least entertaining, 800 to 1,000 people at a time, and it's something to do. It's and they've managed it. So it's like, I've told some friends that work at other large venues too, and I said, look, you should have your boss talk to what they're doing over there, because it's working in Daytona. They're doing it. You're wearing a mask outside, fine. If that's what it takes to go see, to get entertainment, I think most people would say, okay, I'll wear a mask. I'm not a big proponent. I wear them because,
right.
Because you're expected to, and it's fine. But, the second I take a half a step out of Publix, my mask is down around my neck, because but if that's what it takes to go see a show,
you're willing to do that.
I'm willing to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, So you're right. Common sense does need to be applied. And sometimes it's hard to see that. Like, I went to a restaurant in Orlando. We were sitting outside. I was waiting for brunch. We were going to have a brunch on a Sunday. We're sitting outside and we're talking, and they hadn't quite opened yet. It was almost 11 o'clock. So I said, okay, well, they open up at 11. Okay. Do you have a mask, sir? And I said, well, it's in the car. He goes, well, you have to have a mask on. I said, okay, I have to have a mask to walk in the door and sit down. He goes, yes. I said, okay. And I'm thinking, how ridiculous. It's like, I'm not wearing a mask here. I walk 10 feet through your door sitting at a table. I need to wear a mask for those 10 feet. But you know what? I'll play the game, but it's just like, where's the common sense? And it's the same. It's the same here too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's not the business owner's decision.
No, I know that.
No, I'm just saying that's not the business owner's decision. That's something that was mandated to all of the restaurants, that this is what you have to do in order to open. So of course they have to do that. And then when you're in there and you take your mask off, that's fine because you're eating or you're drinking or whatever.
Right.
But now suppose someone of authority that came in and said, you know what? He doesn't have a mask on. I saw him walk from the front door to that table over there without a mask.
Oh, I know.
And boom, it's a fine or whatever.
They're shut down. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not blaming the business owners at all.
No.
I'm blaming the
people who make
people
those
in
mandates.
charge.
That to me is silly. It's silly stuff.
There's an even sillier example, not so much from the governmental authority portion, but from the NFL. NFL had a mandate. One of the new mandates was the players cannot exchange jerseys with opposing players after the game, like they used to. Like opposing teams that are friends and players that they give you my jersey, I'll give you your jersey. They prohibit that now. So it's okay for 60 minutes in the scrum. They're sweating, they're bleeding, they're grappling each other, they're breathing in each other's faces, they're doing all that stuff that's going on the gridiron, and they can do that for 60 minutes. But God forbid they should exchange a jersey after the game. That's going to help prevent. It's like, have some logic, have some consistency, because what possible sense does that make? And they made a big deal about it.
Yeah,
I'm like, really? I'm watching this on ESPN, like at a bar, eating lunch sometime, and I started laughing.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is absurd. It really is absurd, but,
I understand we're all in this new thing, and people don't always react rationally to new threats. I get that. But, from a 2-week shutdown to now we're in month 6, month 5.5, month 6, you would think that there'd be enough time, calmer heads, cooler heads would have prevailed and thought of different things that would have made some amount of sense. Now, some of it, again, social distance is fine. I know one of my sons is a huge basketball fan, and he's been watching the games, and now they're doing these. It's funny to watch because they have these fans, computer generated behind them, But he said, ever since there are protocols, nobody in the NFL has seemed to have, and the NBA have seemed to have had any issues with. I was like, great, that seems to have worked. It's a logical thing to do. Okay, shut it down, only friends and family, protocol, fine. But I get it. I mean, we're all doing this. We're all trying to figure this out on the fly, and we all, not everybody work. I mean, I don't make the right decisions all the time either. I'm not saying I'm, I should be put in charge of everything, because nobody wants that society.
Yeah, well, it's there's so many different aspects of it. It's that, and it's very difficult because someone's in charge of this aspect, someone's in charge of this aspect,
right? And
they all have a different approach or a different solution, and to try and get something that is kind of universal is very difficult.
And I haven't even touched on the political ramifications of any of this, because I don't want to get into that whole thing. But, there's whatever side of the fence you're on, you have to admit there is some degree of political things happening that are swirled around this whole thing. Whether or not you agree that it's hugely political or partly political, there is something going on, and that should be either. It should be all strictly medical, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and even when you look at the medical part of it, I mean, we get conflicting reports from the medical side.
Yes.
I mean, you're listening to doctors who are saying this works, and you're listening to doctors who say that doesn't work, and this is the only thing that works, and don't do this and don't do that,
right.
But take this and don't take that.
That's the part I was talking to my kids about, that whole thing too. And the sad part about where we are, I think, now as a nation, society, even a world, is that there is so much conflicting information on every subject that you're bombarded with it on both sides for whatever, whether it's political, whether it's scientific, whether it's socioeconomic, whether it's whatever issue you want to talk about. You're bombarded from social media or from regular media or from anything of, oh, it's A, no, it's B, oh, it's C, no, it's D. And it's really getting harder and harder to figure out who's telling the truth and what is the truth, because there's a study about this. Well, there's a study that says that is false. Well, then there's a study that says that study about that study is false. I mean, it's so hard these days.
It's very difficult, especially for children and especially young adults, because they are as you said, I mean, they're confused because they're hearing all these different things. And for them, they don't have the experience, they don't have the knowledge to be able to oftentimes
Parse
disseminate,
through. Yeah.
What is true and what should I do, and it's very, very sad. I mean, I I can't imagine a lot of these. I feel so bad for the kids that wanted to go back to college and
Right.
they're not going back to college. And I mean, to miss so much of that. And that's very formidable years that they're, are important to them.
Yes.
And it's important to their growth,
And the socialization,
yeah.
not on a computer screen, with headphones on and, playing a video game and chatting while you're doing it. It's a whole different experience. Yeah. I'm kind of glad I grew up when I did.
And I know I'm glad I grew up when I did. I've got a lot of years on you. So
I would hate to have been in high school and college and have like a camera phone around and some of the stupid stuff that we did. We can tell stories and we can deny. There's no way to prove it. But now there's like 17 different camera angles, like that recent shooting in Kenosha.
Mm-hmm.
There's I watched at least 7 or 8 different cell phone videos of some of the incident.
Mm-hmm. And then, you can look on anytime you're online. I mean, you see something and, it's so easy for these experts, these people who are so well trained to manipulate things. And I'm not talking about for bad or good. I mean, it doesn't matter, but they can take something and they can, put your head on a horse and it sure looks like, that's your head on that horse,
right?
No question about it, and
I am a Sagittarian, so that would actually work.
So that's difficult because, it used to be, when I was growing up, it was, don't believe everything you hear, but, what you see.
Exactly. It's getting scary good.
And now you can't believe what you hear. You can't believe what you see.
Yeah. It's just a weird time. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I think eventually, I'm an optimist. I think we'll kind of pull out of this in a better form eventually. It's going to be a little rough for a while, I think.
No, I think we will. This is, we are the greatest country in the world. And, we have a lot of innovation and we do have a lot of, great minds that can, go through a lot of things and, come up with solutions.
I agree. I think it's because, and I was talking with my youngest the other day about, he had this different idea about American exceptionalism. I said, no, American exceptionalism doesn't mean that we think we're the best, country. Some people do, but the exceptionalism means that we were founded as a country with an exceptional idea. We weren't founded on a monarchy. We were founded on the ideas of America and the Constitution, all that stuff. So that's what the exceptional part means. Mm-hmm. What we've done with that in 250 years has been remarkable, considering world events and,
mm-hmm.
the history of the world. But, it doesn't mean that we think we're all high and mighty about stuff like that. We were a great country because we became a country that welcomed people in
and allowed people
the freedom to
develop
exactly
and to, come up with great ideas and have an avenue to get those ideas out there.
Yep.
And that is the key. I mean, I've had friends. I mean, I knew people that, came from Cuba, and, she was a dentist and he was a doctor. And, she would tell me the story. And she said, we came out of there. She said, we had nothing but the gold in our teeth, in our mouth, and she said, we had to start over. And she said, I wouldn't have it any other way. She said, I would not want to ever be back in Cuba, and that was in the 70s, and when she got here, I mean, she had to start all over. She was a doctor in Cuba, but she had to get her medical license here and, and a dentist, she had to get her dental license, I mean, that's, and when you think about that, when you have all of that experience and that's what you are, that's what she was, and to come here and now all of a sudden you're nobody.
Zero.
You
Start
have
from
nothing,
zero. Yep.
You don't even have, and that's one thing about education, people can take whatever they want away from you, but they'll never take your education away, because that's something that, that's yours. That's your learning ability. You're learning what you've learned, And, so I often think of, that story that she told me about her and her husband, and I think, that's what we're about,
I think I read an article one time that immigrants are, I forget the numbers, let's say 3, 4, 5, 10 times more likely to become millionaires than people born here.
Mm. Yeah, because you know what? When they come from a country that suppressed a lot of that stuff and they weren't able to do that, what do they have to lose? Most people don't take a chance because they have a lot to lose.
Right.
But the people who are down and out or don't have anything or don't care about anything, they're not afraid to take that chance because they don't have anything to lose.
My parents, my dad grew up very poor in New York City, like extraordinarily poor. And that was one of the motivating factors of, why he was so successful when they took chances. He and my mom took chances and, the story was they came down here, they didn't know anything up in Jersey. They came down here and like within, 3 or 4 days, they had signed a loan to buy a business, buy a house, buy some property. And like, for 1 minute they were, zero debt to the next week they were, but they worked and they did
and that was his motivation.
Yeah.
If he didn't have all of that on his back,
no.
No,
the poverty was what drove my dad.
Yeah.
All right, we got about a minute left. Gal, you want to just wrap it up with some more stuff about your business? Tell people how to get hold of you, what you can offer.
So Eye Care Magazine will be publishing. It'll be out in the marketplace on September the 3rd. And if you'd like more information about us, you can go to Eye Care Town, the letter I, CARETOWN.com. And you can view our magazines. You can sign up for a subscription. And if you'd like to reach me personally, you can reach me at goldy@comcast.net, 772-233-7332.
Well, this was fun. See, it goes by really fast.
Yeah.
And we don't have any breaks. We haven't had any breaks in the last couple of weeks either. So usually we have a couple of breaks in it, but that's straight through. So it's good to see you again.
Well, same here, and I hope to see you again. And it was a pleasure to be here, and I always look forward to it.
The radio show is fun. Yeah, the radio show is fun. It's fun to talk to people, and because we really don't get the chance to talk too much. When I do attend the meetings, it's you don't have a whole lot of time to talk to everybody all the time, and so. We are down to 30 seconds. Thank you, sir. It was always fun. We'll see next week. I'm not sure who we have, but we'll have somebody, and I'll probably be here. So, well, August is my month.
Okay.
So then we switch off to John's the next month. So, well, thanks everybody. We will see you next week at the MCBE McBiz radio program.
Okay.